Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Kramer. Our guest today is Rich Kozak. He is from RichBrands. I've had the opportunity to get to know him just a little bit before we started this interview, and I'm really looking forward to sharing him with all of you. Welcome to the show, Rich.
Thank you, Alicia. It is my pleasure to be here. I love what you do. It has been tremendous already, and we're just getting started. So thank you for having me.
We are just getting started. And we talked a little bit about this, and now I want to share this with everyone listening. This is the perfect place to start. When we're talking about branding in your business, there are a couple of common associations that people have. You know, you've got everything from the, oh, isn't that just my color palette and my logo, to, you know, what's the tagline and the lingo and sort of, you know, that whole song and dance. You know, what is going to get me the most revenue? But now your approach is really coming from a much deeper, more aligned place. And I know you've listened to some of my other interviews,
right,
but if you listen to all of them, and there are well over 100 so far, you will hear the word alignment a lot. I use it a lot with my clients as well, because it really is the essence of us thriving, not just in our business, but in our life. And so I love from your perspective to talk about what is branding really? So where did we go wrong on this, and what do we need to do to make it right?
Well, thank you for starting with that question. It is highly intuitive and very wise to start with that. So at the risk of sounding like I'm slamming an industry, let's just say that the word branding comes off of a lot of lips into your ears. And it sounds like this will do you good, or this will be good for your branding, or you need this for your branding. Many of those lips are marketing service sellers. I won't go into detail. I don't need it. You've spent money on them. I've spent money on them. We've all done that. And they're using if you had each of them light a match and explain to you what branding is before the match burns their fingers and what steps it requires to make a brand come alive, they would have burned fingers. And then where are you? So the word branding is used to entrance, it's used to sell, but very few people who use the word will teach you. For 45 years, I have been defining and languaging brands and launching them. And for the last 7 years, I only, after a long career, decades working with large companies, global certified branding consultant, partners in 21 countries, my largest client was a $14 billion client. I stopped. And when I came back to branding, I only work with individuals. And you see the word above me, impact. If you are on video, it says impact driven publishing, which is the name of my publishing company. I only work with individuals who are determined to make an impact on those clients, customers, industries whose lives they touch with their work or their business or their skill or their gift or their calling, however they represent it. They are determined to make an impact, and the impact is what's important. And you see, when there's clarity up front about the impacts, you clearly see, let's say in your mind's eye, you might not even be doing it, but you know, and you can see it. Your heart is telling you, you will make these impacts on these types of audiences. And I'll use that word because it could be an industry. It could be certain types of people. I'm telling you, and you get to take my word for it, 45 years, just kind of a little trust here. You can define the brand you must become to make those impacts. And the beauty of it is it comes from inside of you, because it starts with the impacts that you clearly want to make. And so the characteristics you get credit for are the characteristics you must get credit for to make your impacts. That means when you talk about the characteristics, like somebody says, he's so heart connecting, she is systematizing. You got to work with Patty because she sees she projects your success. Whatever those are, they're pure you. It's not something somebody thought up and slapped on you. It's something that you get to become and get to get credit for to speed you to the impact. Let's take categories of expertise, same thing. When you say what you do in a way that makes people go, I love that. What is that? Okay. I mean, and has an intangible brand promise in it, but it's authentic to you. Imagine if someone could hand you a book or hand you a keys to a process that just makes sure that you get access to your own authenticity in the way your brand speaks and the way it shows up. That would be kind of worthy. Well, I get to do that all day long. And that's the difference. And that book I just mentioned is coming out. By the way, I mentioned to you, I know when this comes out is probably going to be somewhere in the fourth quarter of 2022. In the first quarter of 2023, I'm speaking at a huge event in Los Angeles called the Best You Expo. And I'm doing a book launch there. The book will have been out for months already, but the book is called Impact Driven Branding: 7 Steps to Ensure Your Brand Impacts People's Lives and the World. I'm basically giving away the process and the steps I've been teaching, and I teach one person, I teach groups, I speak, I'm writing. So you might be sitting there, if you're a high growth business owner, or you have a vision and you can make a higher level impact or reach more people, create more significance in the world, and that's you, please write this down. Clarity is a missing piece. And there are 2 kinds, but the one I'll speak about is clarity of how you say, hey, this is what I see for you. See, when I say those words, your antenna pop out. This is what I see for you. It's about you. These are the possibilities. It might be difficult for you to see yourself getting there, but it's not our first time. Take my arm, I'll take you there. This is what I see for you. The way a brand clearly paints a picture of what it sees for its target audiences that it wants to impact is magnetic. And so here's the quote: the clarity with which a brand speaks shapes its impact. The clarity with which a brand speaks shapes its impact. Speaks is words. If you're a speaker like I am right now, the way, the emphasis, the language you use makes an impact or not. But it's how you show up. It's how you respond. In many cases, it's how you listen. It's what the brand says. It's what the brand does. It's what other people who've experienced you or your brand say. And when there is consistent language, the characteristics and expertises that we talk, that transfers energy. And this is where you and I, Alicia, energy, we're all energy, and we're either sitting on the couch watching Netflix or we're up and alive and moving. It's a choice, but it's a lot of things have to do with energy, and the clarity with which your brand speaks shapes its impact. So you asked me to talk about me, and I think I did a little bit. I mean, I came through a long career, but I will tell you the irony. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I was, say, graduating from high school. And I was already a serial entrepreneur. I had businesses and I wanted to do everything, but I had no idea what I wanted to be. And what I became through a series of, let's call it marketing, sales, mostly marketing positions all over the map of marketing, I ended up being the executive vice president of a high-tech ad agency with partners in 21 countries and the head of new business development. So I'm talking in the language of industry, a different industry every 15 minutes. It's like, so the kid who didn't know what he wanted to become becomes a global branding consultant that teaches big companies what they must become. That's ironic. Okay, but think about that. It's kind of the universe. Like, you teach what you need. Have you learned that one yet? That's a big one. And I thought it was over. I resigned my addictive career. I was doing all-nighters at 50 years old. And I changed my prayer. Lord, I don't think you want me to be a dead, agency guy. I'm going to resign this addictive career to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. And I started listening. Years later, people started asking me to help them with their individual brands. And I explained to them I didn't do that anymore. And they explained to me I never stopped. I just didn't charge for it. And that made me bristle, but it was a happy moment. And as I helped a few, I realized I get to do this work, and it's not a skill, it's a gift. And so I am one of the lucky ones who knows I'm doing exactly what I was prepared for. That is crazy good. I'm also blessed to have been married to the same woman for 45 years and 50 Valentine's days, and to have had congruence in a career that seemed like a hodgepodge, but came together, and I realized it's all for the purpose. So I don't know if it's ironic or not, but it is a fact. I spend all day and sometimes well into the evening, and it doesn't feel like work anymore. It feels like love. And I'm not kidding. That is not hype. It's not some kind of tagline or motto. It's just the way it feels. And I get to help individuals connect their business and their heart and make their business thrive into abundance and race to impact faster and race to money faster, and create a platform using branding, real branding, branding from inside, impact-driven branding, a platform that they can easily step into their purpose. Praise God. And I get to do that all day long. Does that help?
You dropped several gold nuggets in there. There are a couple that I would like to really hone in on, because I feel like the message is extremely relevant to those listening who do know that they are being called to do something, and maybe they're not entirely clear how their current path is aligned with that calling. And this is something that I've seen very, very often. I've personally experienced it. And you articulated it so perfectly in your own personal story, is that we are going through the motions in many respects. And we're feeling a little off about it. We've got some misalignment. And we begin to question, is this actually even the right path for me? Even though it keeps showing up in life over and over and over, right? And then there's a point where we finally sort of surrender all of the kind of ego stuff, right? And when you had that really heartfelt prayer, that sincere desire, that sincere intention to do your work, the work that you were meant to do. This is where I see we surrender, we drop all of our stories, we drop all of the preconceived stuff that has been keeping us sort of trapped in our limited circumstances. And lo and behold, isn't it interesting how frequently we were doing the work, we were learning the skills, we just weren't quite doing it in the right way.
And I'm a certified trainer of neuro-linguistics programming. I don't train, but I do use it to listen. And I'm really glad I got that skill set. One of the phrases that's used in parts integration when, oh, I want to be the best mom, but I want to be a professional. I can't do both. Or this person aren't getting along, and they get somebody to bring them together to get them to come along. The question is, for what purpose? For what purpose? And you keep asking it, and it takes you up to where it comes together. We get busy, we get on the treadmill, and we don't take the time, or we don't have the time, or whatever you want to call it, to deal with for what purpose, because we just got to get this done, that's one thing. And the other is that I think, and you articulated it in a way, people think, oh, this doesn't feel completely right. Maybe I need to do something different. But they might have been, what they were doing is maybe where their skills lie. So please write this down. You wonderful, if you're listening and you're, our businesses are not why we're here. They are a vehicle. That's okay. We get to create a legacy for our children and grandchildren, no matter what we do for a living. And that legacy, you might be thinking money, but I'm thinking everything. The things you overcame. Maybe you're an immigrant and you came to a country that wasn't even where you were born because there was more opportunity. Maybe you chose things in your life or chose relationships, but those lessons and those paths are part of your legacy, in addition to wisdom, assets, family relationships, and history. We get to hand a legacy to our children and grandchildren. If you read the book that I read every day, it says we're supposed to. Okay, we get to choose what that is. It doesn't matter what you do. It matters what's in your heart. One of those, I spent a long time in self-development work after I left the agency to invest in myself. And I've never said this on a podcast, but I will go here. And one of those trainings, I paid a lot of money to hear this. In any moment, like right now, or right now, you may choose your higher self, let's say generous, or your lower self, greedy. Your higher self, peaceful, your lower self, warlike, angry, uplifting. Those polar you can choose to be in your higher self or your lower self in any moment. It's just a choice. And it's our choice. You can be in the midst of anger and choose to be kind. No weenie excuses, okay? I mean, seriously. There is, and so you can be angry at your job, but it's not about your job. Maybe it's about how you respond to it or how you're leveraging it to grow. There's always two sides. There's always dimensions. So the beautiful thing is we're all here for a reason. We weren't made willy-nilly. We're all here for a reason, and we're all connected in some way. Our DNA is not too much different than the bumblebees. It's like, wow. So use your own word, meditating, praying, asking, pondering on what contribution I would like to make, what brings me joy. When I lose track of time, what am I doing? How would I really like to help others? How could I make the world a better place with what I know or what I do or the stuff I've been through? I mean, I have a lot of clients who've been through horrible stuff. I was on a podcast last week, the woman who just so uplifting and so beautiful. And her earliest years were filled with horrible experiences. I won't go into details, but that you wouldn't want anyone to go through. She is chosen to use them to strengthen herself and strengthen others. I'm working with one of my clients right now in a book, The Secret You Hide Holds You Back. When we have something about ourselves that we hold behind our back, as long as we hold it behind our back, it won't do us any good. As a matter of fact, it's a wall, it's a stumbling block. As soon as we put it in front of us and put a light on it, we start to heal, and so do others. So come on. And you can whine about her. You can go, you know what? I think that's why coaches and people that are intuitive and understand, and Alicia is delightful in that area, listening to her interviews and listening to her comments just before we turn the camera on. I know she is one of those people that unlocks doors for others or is a catalyst that prompts those, I haven't thought of it that way before. Those are wonderful moments. What I wish for you is that you get the moment to say, I never thought of branding like that before. This sounds really good. And it might be a blessing to your business or to your life.
I love that. And I love when we can bring all of it together, where we're not creating a distinct separation between our business, our career, our family, our personal time, our personal development time, because we are the central hub that influences and affects all of it. And when we are compartmentalizing and we are making these seemingly justifiable excuses for why it's okay to tolerate things that feel incongruent or out of alignment because it pays the bills or whatever that justification may be for your own misalignment, we clean that up, we become the best version of ourselves. And that is really what this calling, I think, is all about, is what you said. Our businesses don't define us. Our businesses are not our purpose. It is just our vehicle. And we want whoever's driving that vehicle to be the best version of ourselves, to have the most positive impact on everyone in our lives.
Interesting. You use the words, who's the person who's driving that vehicle, implying it's you. It is you if it's your vehicle. My NLP training taught me early that 80% of the time people are in trance. And often it's someone else's trance, and it's their boss's trance, or their wife's trance, or their trances, they're in their job, or they're addicted to, they got to watch the news to find out the horrible things, and they do things and they're not driving the vehicle. So that's one of those warnings.
Yeah, well,
happens to us all.
it's a process of becoming more conscious. And I recall when I went through my hypnotherapy training, one of the things that they taught was you have to de-hypnotize the client before you can actually get into the deeper work with them, because our subconscious conditioning is largely running the show. And most people feel like they don't have control over their emotions. That polarity that you were explaining before, where we do have the choice, that's our God-given right to choose. It's one of the only things that we really truly have the power to control, is our own mind and choosing the higher versus the lower. And yet a lot of people do not feel like they have a choice, because they are in that trance. They are conditioned to that disempowerment. But through our process of becoming more conscious, we're able to break out of that trance, and we do become the driver of our own vehicle. And now we have a lot of responsibility to be making empowering choices. And I think that the audience that we have listening to this show, they're on that journey.
You and I talked early before, and there was a common word between us: clarity. Often that higher level path from which it's easy to turn it into a runway and take off and fly, that higher level path begins with clarity. I can, never start with a negative, sorry, NLP training. I mean, so many people who come to me, very successful business people, I have lots of people working for them, I need more clarity. They even will say, we need better ways to say what we do, or we need more, we don't know how to position ourselves to, get what, to earn what we're worth, but I need clarity. I just need more clarity. It's like there's a black hole where clarity should live. Starting with clarity, I want you to imagine having clarity in your mind and your heart and your language, so that everything about what you do and what you want to do, and remember that the picture that you clearly paint, here's what we see for you when you talk to your target audience. Imagine that everything your brand says and does, the way you show up, the things people say about you, what's in your literature, what's on your website, what comes out of your mouth, what's in your books, what's on the book cover, whatever. Imagine everything you say and do is aligned with the impacts that you wrote down, said, I clearly see making these impacts on these kind of people when the brand thrives. Imagine that. That is, you're weeks away from that. It's just a process. Whoa.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Rich, you've got to share with our listeners how they can connect with you.
I have a document called Your Impact Driven Branding Blueprint, and I'd be glad to send it to you if you email me at RichBrands, RichBrands.org. Don't get that part wrong, or you end up in a business in Africa. Rich@richbrands.org. Blueprint, and I will send you a copy of Your Impact Driven Branding Blueprint. It is a few pages of me talking to you what you can do right now, even if you close your eyes, to get started on the process. And that could be a blessing to your business right away and to your life. The other free thing I offer is, again, it's in the direction of clarity. I offer a series of very short videos answering frequently asked questions about branding that you want to ask, but there's nobody to ask, or they're not giving you straight answers, or you need to ask, and there's straight answers, and they're brief. There's total of 18 minutes. It's at thebrandyouwillbecome.com. So to get current, it's HTTPS, it's a secure site, / the brand you will become.com, thebrandyouwillbecome.com. It asks you for your email address. It sends you a link. You download the videos, frequently asked questions, and it will reshape how you think about you and your personal brand, what it really means. And again, I think it will be a blessing. And frankly, you have a way to reach me. If you email me and say, hey, let's hop on a Zoom call, I will hop on a Zoom call with you.
So take advantage of that. This has been a pretty deep conversation about branding.
In life.
And I'm sure there are some people who really resonate with it. I mentioned to you, I've been, quote, branded, and it felt so inauthentic. And I just kept bringing it up. It doesn't feel right. I was bringing it up to colleagues in my mastermind. Why? Well, why? Because it was all about the money. And I am happy to help my clients make more money, but that's just such a small piece of what I do with my clients, that to brand myself as just being able to help people make more money felt so off. And when you're not in alignment with what you're doing, it does not work, folks.
I wish that you had known about my videos before you did that, because the video number 4, that's a little insight. They have names. There's a question that each video answers. And number 4 is, what makes a good brand? And there are 4 things that make a brand come alive. And number 1 is congruence. Congruence with the heart of the brand champion. If there's not congruence, you will always be in conflict. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Save yourself from the gurus. And follow your heart. Make sure you connect with Rich. And I want to thank you, Rich. You allowed us to go into some uncharted territory today, going deep into the more spiritual, heart-centered side of business. And I think that a lot of people can really appreciate that, because we know that we're not just doing this for a paycheck. We're doing this because it's what we're being called to do. Our heart is saying yes to a better quality of life, saying yes to doing things that have a positive impact on others. And that's not a superficial thing.
And we're all being prepared to do what we're here to do. And the stuff that was tough, the stuff that was maybe even bad that you went through, just prepares you to do the greatness that's in you. So don't miss that point either. We get to be thankful for even the unfortunate things in our lives, because they prepare us. We might help someone else or serve someone else or make a huge contribution because we have that experience or perspective. So I see that occur all the time in my life and in my clients' lives. And like I explained to you before the camera went on, my clients just span the gamut of all kinds of coaches and experiences and uniquenesses and expertises. It doesn't matter. The process is still the same. So, but we're all being prepared, and we're all, I created the Empowered Youth Day curriculum after I worked with Lisa Nichols for 3.5 years in her Motivating the Teen Spirit. I created a curriculum that teach teenagers life skills. And one of the sections of the training was called Who's at Your Mentor Table? And it teaches 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds that they have a mentor table. And they're like, what? Yeah, whatever. And it's like, what? And you can put whomever you want there. You can put your dad there. You can take him off. Okay. You can put George Washington there, whomever, right? Mohammed Yunus, whomever. And we're all made to be mentored. And we're all made to be mentors, sometimes at the same time. We've done something and someone else hasn't, we can mentor them, and vice versa. We're all connected.
Beautiful way to end this segment. Thank you again, Rich. And of course, thank you to all of our listeners. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And
Mhm.
until next time, we will see you in the next